Hi, and welcome to the Grueling Truths NFL Pick'em Show. We're sponsored by MyBookie.ag, an online sportsbook with thousands of odds, lines, futures, parlays, and even in-game live betting in football and dozens of other sports. We'll talk more about them during the show, but we can tell you now that if you enter the promo code NFLPICKS, that's NFL Picks, at MyBookie.ag, you can get a 100% match bonus right now. Like I said, we'll do more on that later, but let's get to the show. My name is Oz Davis. I'll be hosting tonight. And joining me for this program, first of all, is none other than College Football Hall of Famer, three-time Super Bowl champion, three-time Pro Bowler, and current podcaster on Unsafe Spaces, a podcast about football and anything else, Randy Cross. Randy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah, I figured that resume is either too short or too long, but either one of them takes up too much time.
I tried to compress it as neatly as I didn't even give you as much time as the plug for my bookie.
Yeah, I like it.
In, out, just real quick. All right. Also joining us is the fearless leader of the Grueling Truth Network, Mike Goodpaster. Mike, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great, and I am now officially a voter for the College Football Hall of Fame, but I'm not in.
That's right. Okay. When does that happen? When will you actually be voting for that?
I have no clue. They haven't told me that yet. They just sent an email asking if I wanted to vote.
Well,
I wasn't sure. I was going to vote for Randy. Now I found out he's already in. So
actually, the votes are already in for the next class, but it's coming up. It's a year-long process. I got really educated when I got voted in 2010.
Okay.
Because my first question was when I got in was what the hell took so long? My last game was January 1st of 1976, and I was inducted.
It seems like there's a lot of guys like that, though, Randy.
In 2010, yeah, it's a freaking process that it takes forever. There's committees and everything. It's not like the Pro Football Hall of Fame because honestly, there's a very small body of people that they have to talk about and really pick from. College football, on the other hand, you're talking about 100 and something schools and hundreds of guys every year, and it does weed it out that you have to have been a first-team All-American, but it's amazing. Mm-hmm. It will drive like a guy like my guy Joe Montana can never be a College Football Hall of Famer, which I read it and I go, oh, okay,
wow,
I guess because he was never a first-team All-American. That's one of the criteria that you have to have. And I can give you a good example. The guy I work with at CBS on Inside College Football on Tuesday nights, Aaron Taylor. He was all everything at UCLA. He won the Lombardi Award. I mean, he was all first team All-American a couple of times, and now he's just now this year on the ballot. So
on the ballot, you say, not even in.
On the ballot,
yeah.
Eligible. I voted for him when I got a chance this year, but it's very, very it's a long, grueling process to get through. It's if you read the guys that are eligible this year, in fact, the guys that probably make it this year, it's incredibly impressive.
Oh, very, very interesting. Very well. I think we just set a record for going off the rails on the podcast here, but. So let's get back in.
By the way, I specialize in that, so I'll warn you.
Well, and so does Oz, so don't let him fool you that he's shocked that he went off the rails.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, though, Randy, you could ask him about his claim last year on the NFL preview show we had with Jason Buck, the old Washington Redskin, when Oz made the claim that Blake Bortles was going to be the breakout player of the year.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow. We broke all the way back to Denver.
Yeah,
that was a great pick.
That's a convoluted trip to get back there, that's for sure.
All right, Oz, back on the rails.
I've eaten so much crow on that the raven is now an endangered species in this country.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up on our Canadian Football League show that we did.
Yeah. This comes up in college football and Canadian football. It's amazing how flexible that little
if we did a high school show, I'd bring it up.
In any case. And like they say, everybody is 0-0, including me. at the beginning of the 2017 NFL season. So,
are you sure the Jets are?
Can you start -1
We're sure about the first 0, Randy.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, their zeros a given. They've got to back in on their season. I think to me they start 0-16. They got to earn wins from here.
Okay, all right. Hey, you know what? Let's run with that first because the Jets are going to be an interesting example this season. I think this is the first time we're going to see a team actually tanking. Obviously right up front tanking like, for example, the 76ers have done in the NBA. Is this the wave of the future? Will other teams become so sad sack that they have to do this for 2 or 3 years in the future? Can you imagine this, Randy?
I personally don't think tanking exists in football.
Okay.
That's with the Jets. They're just incompetent.
Yeah, just by virtue of, the number of games involved, and there's just that alone. With baseball and basketball, you can sort of arrange things so that you won't necessarily be very good. Football, it's kind of hard to do that. But, I think the way they sign veterans and the way they let guys leave as free agents and the way they draft ensures usually that their record's going to suck pretty good. So if that's tanking, they're really good at it.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, if you look at the Lions, who this last happened to, most of that was down to whiffing in the draft, not signing free agents, da-da-da-da-da. So I wouldn't say that the players themselves are tanking, but it's more like the front office is setting them up to fail. What do you think, Mike? I mean, will we see this again, Mike? I mean, how bad can the Jets be?
As long as the Jets are still in existence with this front office, we're probably going to see it again for a few years.
Okay.
They've screwed up the last 3 or 4 years. They make big signings. Darrelle Revis, nobody was going to give him that kind of money, I don't think. Not at the point in the career he was in. So they've done this to themselves.
It wasn't that long ago. They were almost face-to-face with New England in people's minds. Mm-hmm. And, now it's New England and the three dwarfs in that division. It's because Buffalo's okay. Miami should be better than okay, but they'll just kind of probably be a 500 teams. And you have the Jets. It doesn't bode well.
Yeah, I think the other problem these teams have is, they've got to play, the AFC South this year and the NFC.
They get the South, and from the NFC, do they get the East?
I think so.
Okay.
Right there, I think you're looking at the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots could win 11 or 12 games, and the next closest team could be 6-10.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. The Bills are looking pretty spotty, and I don't know how confident are you guys in Jay Cutler reunited with his former coach? Any confidence there? I mean, Mike, you wrote a piece for the Grueling Truth, a brief saying that he looked pretty good. How much faith?
Yeah, he looked pretty good, but come on, you got to go by the history of the team. He's new to the team. Even with Ryan Tannehill completely healthy, I don't think there's any way this team was going to win more than 6 or 7 games just with the schedule they have.
Plus, even at his age, every time you look at Jay Cutler, especially when something bad happens, he looked like somebody just stole his favorite toy.
Yeah.
He looks like such a little whiny brat all the time. And
you think maybe that's because he's a whiny brat?
My opinion of him personally took a serious nosedive starting the day of that NFC Championship game between the Packers and the Bears at Soldier Field when he kind of took himself out of the game. And part of it's, if I don't see bone and blood being kind of old school, it doesn't count as an injury. And, and taking yourself out, you don't take yourself out of a big game like that.
Yeah.
They have to steal your helmet. And since that day, I've had a hard time cooking up a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, you're never going to see a guy like Tom Brady or Drew Brees pull themselves out of a game in that situation.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. Let's close out the AFC East here. Let me ask you, Mike, what's the ceiling for these Patriots? Edelman is out. They have brought in Philip Dorsett. And Brandon Cooks, I guess, will be the number one receiver out there. What's the feeling for these guys now?
They'll be fine. It's Bill Belichick. They're going to win. I mean, just being in this division probably gives them 6 wins to start off with. So I think 12 or 13 wins is normal.
Yeah, if you get Cooks and you get Cooks in the slot, you get Dorsett in the slot. If you really have to have an X receiver on the outside, hell, throw Gronkowski out there.
Yeah, you still got Hogan too, right?
Yeah, Hogan. But I mean, this is an offense that runs through the slot and the quarterback and the running backs. And if you've got a tight end like this, it even threatens the middle of the field more. But the amount of crossing patterns and seam stuff that they run is pretty stunning, and they got the talent to still do it. Not having Edelman, does it hurt?
Belichick does with Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, it's not going to be. It's not going to be fatal. It'll just bother them for a while, not having Edelman.
Yeah, they've played that position before. Right. Let's go on to the North now. I was just leaving this mostly open for you, Mike, but I do have a couple of other questions for you. Why do you think that the Ravens are going in so overrated, and why do you think the Browns are going in so underrated? Because I think that these teams are both going to surprise people.
The Browns are always what the Browns are until the Browns win some football games. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2002. I mean, you've got a rookie quarterback, which you never know how that's going to work out. Now, they did upgrade the offensive line. I think defensively, I think they're better. I think this is going to be a better team. I don't think it's more than a 5 or 6 win team, but I think if they'd stay with Hugh Jackson and let him do his work over a couple of years, I think he can get them back to respectability. I think the Ravens are a team that offensively they just need more weapons. You got Joe Flacco's injured. You don't know how much or how well he's going to play when he comes back. I think this division is kind of up in the air anyway.
Both their tight ends at best are starting the season injured, Ben Watson and Max Williams. On top of that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, defensively they're good up front, but they always are. You look at Pittsburgh, I mean, Ben's getting up there in age. He's had a hard time making it through seasons completely healthy. The other thing is the new kid Watt going to supply them with the pass rush? Because last year when they played New England, they match up well with New England everywhere except for getting after the passer in the secondary. So I think that's a fatal flaw in that team that keeps them from being able to possibly beat a team like New England. And then the Bengals are as normal as talented as anybody, but they're basing everything on Jake Fisher and Cedric Ogbuehi. And I'm a Bengals fan, and I wouldn't bet anything on those two guys, plus Marvin Lewis. I mean, I would pick Pittsburgh to win this division. I think they win it 10-6.
All right, what do you like?
It'll be tight with Cincinnati. Cincinnati's going to be right there at the same point, 9 or 10 wins, and I give Baltimore a chance to get into the 8 category, and it'll come down to kind of what it normally does in that division. It's going to be week 15, week 16, week 17, those kind of games, which will turn into bloody death matches and just be physical and boring as hell.
Yeah, and in that case, the reason I like Pittsburgh over the Bengals, even though I'm a Bengals fan, is I think Pittsburgh has one of the best offensive lines in football, and that's hard to overcome.
Yeah, Cincinnati's pretty good. I don't discount Cincinnati up front. I really like their offensive line, specifically some of those guys that play up front for Cincinnati, and I think they can make a difference for that team, but the Bengals tend to get in their own way more often than that.
Yeah, that's as a Bengal fan. That's why I would not pick them.
Yeah, I do that.
That's why I've got 2 Super Bowl rings from them.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
Ooh,
I can't believe I asked another 49er to be on another show.
Yeah, man. Mike, you walked it out.
You know what, though, Randy? At least those 2 Super Bowl rings had to be earned. Plus, there was a 49er that tried to help the Bengals win by getting a penalty on that final drive.
Oh, yeah. Illegal man downfield. But I played with the quarterback.
My comeback doesn't work as good since y'all won the game, though, but I figured I'd give it a shot.
I played with a quarterback, not a TV guy, so my guy came through at the end.
Yeah, well, my guy was 11 for 26 and threw an interception. So.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move away from that Super Bowl 16-23 talk.
Yeah, exactly. kind of an interesting division, at least a couple of really interesting teams over here in the AFC South. I am really liking the Texans and the Titans this year. I think the Titans are one of the teams of the future, and I really think I don't know why. How much should I like the Texans? Because I like them a lot. I think that they were this close to playing in the championship game last year, and they're only better now. Randy, what do you think? How do you like these two teams, especially in this division, Houston and Indianapolis?
I
mean, not Indianapolis, Tennessee, I'm sorry.
In Tennessee, yeah, I like Houston for a lot of reasons. You know, it's almost un-American not to like a Houston team right now with Hurricane Harvey and everything that town's been through. But having J.J. Watt, if he comes back full speed, I mean, the back is really okay, and he can play like J.J. Watt, really bad news for everybody else in that division. But I like Tennessee. I like what they've done up front. That offensive line is nasty. It really kind of depends on Marcus Mariota and what kind of a learning curve he's had, you know, as he's recovering. And sometimes when guys get hurt early in their career, it makes them sit down and take notice of, you know, how they can do different things from what they've really been known for. And I would look for Mariota to do some different type of things, whether it's hanging in the pocket and reading things differently, or, you know, I just think he's going to mature as a quarterback. And if he does that effectively, that wins them an extra 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good news for Tennessee. Mike, I know you're a big Mariota fan. How far can he take a very young Titans team this year?
I think they can make a deep run in the playoffs. I mean, if you look at what they added, you got Eric Decker, Corey Davis, Tywan Taylor. I mean, they're solid on defense. I do like Houston. I do think Houston's a better team right now, but the problem is Houston's one glaring weakness is quarterback. And I don't think Tom Savage is making a deep run into the playoffs. I think Deshaun Watson,
What's the thinking there, Mike? Savage went 1-1 last year. They got Deshaun Watson, who's coming in a winner, a national champion, who, by all accounts, looked great in the preseason. What's the thinking here? I mean, you're a coach. Explain it to me.
The thing is this. You could say he's a winner, but almost every college quarterback that comes into the NFL was a winner.
Okay,
Tim Tebow was a winner. Ty Detmer was a winner. I mean, but it's different. It's a different speed of the game. You're getting a lot different coverages. I mean, everything's a little bit different. You got to throw the ball in a lot tighter windows. So I know why they're a little bit scared there. If Savage is starting game 1, I still think Watson's starting by game 4. I think Watson's their best chance to make a run. Not that he's going to be a great NFL quarterback, but I think we kind of know what Tom Savage's ceiling is. I think Watson just has a lot bigger ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, rookie quarterbacks traditionally and realistically, you know, aren't going to be gigantic difference makers. You're not going to dump it on their shoulders week in and week out in the NFL. It's just not going to happen and not dumping it on them and making the fault theirs. Defensive coordinators in the league are really good. But if you look back at rookies that have done some solid work and gotten their teams to or close, the guy that did the best at it was probably, and be careful about this name, Mark Sanchez. And why did he do that? Why did he get into those games the way he did, get into championship games and make runs in playoffs? He had a great running game. He had really good protection and effective play-action passing, and he had a nasty D. And if you've got that and a rookie quarterback, you can do some work, but you know you're going to have to be pretty conservative and get some breaks along the way. I like Deshaun Watson. I don't think there's any decision there. You know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well.
And I think the guy that's the perfect to compare him to, maybe Ben Roethlisberger, his rookie season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where basically he just had to not screw it up like Sanchez. But I also think
we've seen these guys, and that formula is effective. It works.
Yeah, but I think in the long run, I think the Jets kind of screwed themselves over by never letting Sanchez try to take something over. Mm-hmm. And I think they stunted his growth because they went 2 or 3 years like that with him.
Yeah, that third one probably sealed his fate, because halfway through that second year, you got to take the training wheels off and see if the guy can do it himself.
Yeah, because the quarterback realizes that he's being treated that way, and it kind of kills the confidence too, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, Randy, who do you like then, Texans or Titans?
I'll go with the Texans. I think
all right.
Deshaun Watson will be a big difference on that team. Is it a playoff difference? No, but I think he's pretty good.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I think the Texans win the division. I think the Titans will get a wild card, though.
Yeah, I got both these teams in the playoffs for sure. Okay, let's see. All right.
Can I change my prediction then?
No, you cannot. You going to pick Jacksonville?
Last year you picked Jacksonville to be a surprise. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're going to be surprisingly bad this year. Okay, so hey, the division that's nearest and dearest to my heart this year, the AFC West, with the Los Angeles Chargers here in a 30,000-seat stadium. I'm very interested to check that out. I hope to go and see a game this year. But more importantly, let's talk the other teams, such as the Chiefs, who are missing a few pieces on offense. You're talking about low-watt offense outside of tight end. They don't have many names left on this team. And also the Raiders, the up-and-coming Raiders, look pretty interesting. How far can they go? And the Denver Broncos, who have questions at quarterback. What do you see here, Randy?
I like the Raiders by about, I would say 11-5, 12-4, which puts them a game or two ahead of anybody else in that division. Right. And I would follow them up closely. Behind them would be the Chargers to me.
Mm-hmm.
The
Chargers, really?
The Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's not surprising. That I would take.
Yeah, Chargers. Yeah, they may not fill that 30,000-seat stadium after the first month.
Yeah, they say they're having trouble getting 20,000 in the preseason. It's just like, to me, it sounds interesting. I mean, I would like to see it in a small venue. Like, what does that look like? I think that'd be interesting. It'd be going to see like a baseball game at Fenway Park or something like that. Okay, Mike, what do you see for this division? What do you see for the Broncos especially?
The Broncos, they need a quarterback. I mean, they're still very good defensively. They're not great at quarterback. The offensive line's a problem, which probably got something to do with the quarterbacks not being that good. So I think they're an 8-win team just off the defense. I don't see much more than that for them. I think Kansas City is an interesting team. You got Andy Reid. He's a really good coach. But if sometimes a Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, they're pretty much done. They lost Jeremy Maclin, which was a huge loss. The Chargers, you got Phillip Rivers. He'll play 5 or 6 outstanding games, get you some wins there. But I think the Raiders run away with this division with anywhere from 10 to 12 wins.
Yeah, the Chiefs are, at this point, going into the season, they've had so many injuries that Tyreek Hill is the number 1 receiver, and he's still listed as the number 1 punt returner on the depth chart. This is a guy who caught 61 passes last season. At running back, they have listed Kareem Hunt, who was drafted in the 3rd round this year. So, yeah, Kansas City has some holes on that skill position chart. So Raiders in a walk, Mike?
Yeah, I think the Raiders in a walk.
All right, let's go on. Oh, wait, before we go on, let's take this break. We'll take a commercial break, take about a minute and a half, and we'll be back with the Grueling Truths NFL season preview.
We'll get back to the podcast in just about a minute here, but first, football season is here, and if you're one of those fans of the NFL, the CFL, or college football who likes to make things interesting on game day, be sure to check out the offerings at mybookie.ag, a sponsor of the Grueling Truth Network. MyBookie reminds you that where you're betting is just as important as what you're betting on. MyBookie.ag offers the full range of point spreads, lines, odds, futures, proposition bets, and parlays on NFL, CFL, and FBS games that you'd find at any proper sportsbook online or off. They've also got the very trendy and exciting in-game live betting options as well. MyBookie offers all first-time players a 100% deposit bonus, thereby doubling your initial bankroll, and MyBookie accepts players from worldwide, including the US and Canada. MyBookie.ag offers 24-hour multilingual customer service and chat, plus a handy app for your mobile device. Best of all about MyBookie.ag, though, is the payout time. MyBookie promises payouts to your account within 2 business days of request. So the next time you're wagering on football, or baseball, or basketball, or soccer, or any major sport, really, check out MyBookie.ag, sponsor of The Grueling Truth. Use promo code CFBPicks or NFLPicks to get a 100% match bonus on your first deposit. That's promo code CFBPICKS or NFLPICKS. Thank you, and please always play responsibly.
Okay, we are back. This is the Grueling Truth NFL season preview with former 3-time Pro Bowler and NFL champion and College Football Hall of Famer and podcaster Randy Cross, as well as the Grueling Truth fearless leader Mike Goodpaster and me, Oz Davis. Let's get back to previewing these teams. Let's get back to previewing these divisions. In the NFC East this year, Dallas Cowboys. All right, I guess we could spend a lot of time on the Cowboys alone. So let's start here. What do we know about the Elliott suspension? Mike, you've been covering this for the Grueling Truth for a few weeks now. What's the Elliott suspension stand at right now?
I have no idea. Does anybody know? Randy, do you know?
I don't think anybody outside of Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones could give you an educated guess.
Yeah. I just don't see, Randy, how somebody can be cleared by the cops, but the NFL brings an investigator in, and that investigator says that she doesn't think he should be suspended, but then when they have the hearing, they don't bring that investigator in, and Goodell just suspends him for 6 games.
Yeah, it's hard to defend, and I think when they look at all the extenuating circumstances, unfortunately, it's going to set back women's rights and sexual abuse cases and stuff all over the country about 5 years. But I think they've got Zeke probably if not for game 1, at least all the rest of them.
Okay, I gotta get in here. I'm gonna go on a tangent here a little bit. Randy, when you were playing, the commissioner was Pete Rozelle?
Yeah, Rozelle, and I believe a little bit of Tags.
Oh, okay, all right. So in your time, was there any sort of relationship between the commissioner and the players and the teams and whatnot, like there is today?
Not really. I mean, you got to remember, I also played in an era where we had 2 strikes.
Right.
I was coming into the league off a period where they just had a couple of strikes.
Right.
Players have always had no leverage. And the bottom line, really, and not enough fans understand, is, there's one thing that will be guaranteed in a collective bargaining agreement between the NFL and its players. The players' union is going to sell the players out. To be sure that there's a players' union from that point forward. They will never decertify, eliminate their own jobs, and do the one thing that would ever give the NFL players actual leverage. So that's what needs to happen.
Wow.
But that will never happen.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm glad I asked. Wow, very interesting.
No, but the NFL will always have the leverage, and that's why you get those draconian rules and powers that the commissioner gets in these cases.
No, that's a great point. That's a great. It's a microcosm of what happens elsewhere. The folks in charge of this, almost useless union, this front, won't let go of their positions, and that could solve a lot of issues. I think you're absolutely right. Wow, very interesting. Very interesting. In any case, okay. So, Eagles, Washington, New York Giants. Now, Mike, you've talked before about the Giants. You've promoted them a little bit. You think they have a legitimate shot to contend?
They remind me a lot of the Bengals, where if the offensive line plays well, there's so many weapons there that they're going to win a lot of games. And this division's tough because I think the Philadelphia Eagles are a year or 2 away from being really good. The Redskins, I think you get the Kirk Cousins, does he want to stay there? Does he even want to be there? The Cowboys, I love Dak Prescott. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. We don't know what's happening with Elliott, but offensively they're a good team. You got 2 or 3 big-time receivers on the offense. You've got a solid offensive line. Defense, there's some questions with. I mean, I think in this division, I think I would go with the Giants for some reason, because I still think Eli Manning's biggest problem over the last 5 years has been the offensive line in front of him.
Yeah, no, okay, but here's the thing. It is said that, according to stuff I was reading today, it is said that Bob McAdoo is still playing around with the combinations on that offensive line. And in fact, in his first two...
You mean Ben McAdoo?
Sorry.
You're the old Buffalo Braves and L.A. Lakers.
Yeah, that's right.
I was
going to say they could use a tight end that looks like that.
At a point guard. He's still playing around with that offensive line. And in the first two preseason games, this is a team that was like producing less than 3 yards per carry on the run block. So I don't know.
Well, I think the key with this team are their tackles, Eric Flowers and Bobby Hart. And they were terrible last year. And if they're not better, I mean, they may win 9 games throwing a lot of screen passes, but in the end, they're not going to be able to compete with Dallas. So they've got to be able to block up front. And the other thing is, I think they've really dropped the ball on trying to get a backup quarterback to Manning also, because you're not going to win games with Josh Johnson, Geno Smith, or whoever they got backing him up.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Randy? What's the ceiling for these Giants?
I'd put them in right about the same place. I think there's a chance. I'm torn between the NFC South and the NFC East as to which one has the best chance to have 3 playoff teams. But I think this is one of those years where that's going to happen. I've got enough respect for Kirk Cousins, and I think some of the talent on that team that I think Washington can sneak up in that 9 or 10. The Giants can be up in that 9 or 10. Cowboys, realistically, their toughest opponent the entire year is going to be the Cowboys. If they can pay attention the whole year and they can really do what they're supposed to do, they could be a 12-13 win team that legitimately has got a shot to be a Super Bowl team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take a look at that South division, because wow, I mean, this is a good division unless I'm mistaken. You've got defending champion Falcons, of course, but you've got the Buccaneers, who, in my opinion, this is the NFC's Titans. I mean, I think this is the team of the future here. I love O.J. Howard being drafted for this team, and I like what Winston did last season at quarterback. The Saints will at least be interesting with Mr. Peterson over there, and for the Panthers, well, yeah, there's another interesting team. Supposedly, the coaching staff wants Newton to do more stuff in the pocket, and they promise to give him more protection if he just stands still. Should the Panthers be messing with Newton's mojo, Mike?
I mean, it's been proven there's not many guys that aren't pocket passers that win Super Bowls. But the problem is this. I mean, from watching it, even their Super Bowl team, the offensive line play was not good at all. So I don't see how you can tell the guy just stand in the pocket, because he's going to get teed off on. I mean, their offensive line's not very good. I mean, they got more weapons with Curtis Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to be a stud, I think, in the NFL. I think the defense will be dominant. You got Luke Kuechly, and they added Julius Peppers. Whether he's got anything left or not, we'll see. I think they got better in the defensive backfield. I think they're better than what they were last year, but I don't think they're anywhere near on a level as a team as Atlanta or the potential of Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
This is a division. That's a deadly word with Tampa. Is that? Yeah. That French word for not worth a damn yet. Potential. Because they've got it. They've got it in spades.
Yeah, they've got talent all over the place.
Everywhere. If you're a fantasy football / name recognition guy, I mean, Tampa's your team. They've got all that. They've got all that going on, and Cam Newton can study. We've talked on a couple of different occasions here in the last 20-30 minutes about Ben Roethlisberger. Cam could do a lot of studying on Ben, because there's a big difference that he needs to appreciate between running the pass and moving the pass. And he's got to learn more of how to run to pass or move to pass and expose himself to less hits. I think that's what they're trying to get him to do, more so than, hey, just don't run. You get some unbelievable opportunities if you learn the right way to scooch around in the pocket and,
watch Aaron Rodgers. He's a perfect example, too.
Yeah,
Rodgers.
You make one small movement with your feet, and all of a sudden you got a second to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, that's going to be huge there. And the Falcons, I don't care what they say, especially, and I don't care what most people that are around that team or cover that team or anything else, you still got to prove to me that going through the trauma that they went through in front of God, the world, and every relative they know possibly they bought tickets for, that they went through last February, that they can really put that behind them. Because that's something that's rarely done. And if you look back at the history of those big games like that go like that, history's not kind to that team that lays the egg.
Yeah, only the Buffalo Bills could recover from losses like that.
Yeah, so they could come back and lose again.
Yeah. I know, like the Bengals team you were talking about. In 88, they're 12-4. 89, the team's 8-8.
Yeah, and it's not unusual. It's just there's such a hangover effect from a negative side. And Dan Quinn, if anybody can pull it off, it may be Dan Quinn. And maybe getting rid of Shanahan will help him. But
I was going to ask you.
It's going to be interesting.
He went to your 49ers. What sort of effect do you see there on the Falcons? And we can even segue into the 49ers. I mean, is this a plus minus?
Won't have a problem. Preparing for the playoffs won't be a problem for my 49ers. And getting a chance to be in the Super Bowl and make the right play calls won't be a problem for Shanahan either until for a couple more years. But I think the Niners are going to be much improved. Shanahan's absence, I think it's going to hurt Atlanta because of the chemistry he developed with that offense and Matt Ryan specifically. And, maybe Sarkisian can have the same thing. Maybe Matt can kind of half teach that offense and that whole effect to Sarkisian. But, I think not having Shanahan is going to have a detrimental effect on Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Who do you like to win this thing, Randy? Who do you like to win in this division?
I like Tampa and Atlanta. Okay. But like you guys are saying, one of those other two teams might sneak out a playoff berth. So, that means, 10-11 for one and 9 or 10 for the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mike, what do you think?
I like Tampa to win the division, Atlanta to be a wild card.
Yeah.
Really? Tampa's got all the talent in the world. If Winston can cut down on the turnovers, which is a big if with a quarterback in his, third year?
Yeah.
If he can if he takes better care of the ball, and Deshaun Jackson does not get mad because Mike Evans is getting most of the touches, I think they win that division.
Mm-hmm. And both of them don't get mad at O.J. Howard.
Yeah.
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 So, if everybody gets along with everybody catching, 80 balls instead of somebody catching 120, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. I like it. All right. Let's actually, I was going to do the West, but let's go to the NFC North first, the cold weather division here. Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. I think the story here, I think the interesting story here has got to be the Vikings, right? This is you talked before about fantasy dream teams, about name recognition. Well, geez, the Vikings are stacked everywhere, aren't they, Randy?
Yeah, they are. They've had the good fortune to stock up on athletic, smart, and I think incredibly talented UCLA linebackers. They've got a few of those. That have worked out really well for them. I think that defense in general has got amazing DNA. If you think that's important, because I'm a big Mike Zimmer fan. I think defensively he's a stud.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's going to be about the offense and what that offense can consistently do. What's their personality going to be? What's their sort of makeup going to be? And they're going to be standing toe-to-toe in some huge games with the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm not going to totally discount Detroit or even necessarily Chicago, but that's a punch-out between two really good teams between Minnesota and Green Bay to me.
Okay. All right, Mike, how do you see Minnesota versus Green Bay panning out?
I think the key for Minnesota is Dalvin Cook. I mean, if they can have a run game, that and, of course, the offensive line, which was terrible last year, but a lot of that was being beat up. I'll echo the same thing that Randy said. I mean, Mike Zimmer is a great football coach. I watched him in Cincinnati, and I don't think it's any coincidence that when he left, the Bengals' defense was not nearly as good. So, and the thing I really like about him is outside of the Indianapolis game last year, they started the season off, I think, 5-0, 5-1. They had the best defense in football. The offense wasn't doing anything, but the one thing you can be guaranteed, except for that Colts game, which was kind of an anomaly, is when Mike Zimmer's teams play, you're going to have to fight to win the game.
Okay, let's see. How about this one? Chicago Bears. Randy doesn't want to discount them. I'm just about ready to discount them. They're not even sure who their quarterback is, and now number one receiver Cameron Meredith is out. I don't know how recent this news is, so I'm reporting it as recent news. So, I mean, Mike, can the Bears do anything this season? And how long before Trubisky is playing?
No, and soon.
Okay,
I don't see where they've got enough offense. I think the strength of their team is I think they may have one of the best interior offensive lines from guard to guard in the NFL. The only problem is their tackles aren't very good. I like Jordan Howard. He's a really good running back from Indiana. Had a great season last year. But I just think there's way too many holes on this team.
Oh, well, yeah. They're going for the number 2, if not number 1 pick, I think. Okay, what do you think of Minnesota, Mike? Minnesota, Green Bay gets a wild card?
I won't be a little crazy. I think Minnesota wins the division.
No, I think so too. I think
I think they're a better team. Green Bay, very good offensive line. They're going to score points, but in the secondary, they didn't address that, and I think that's going to be a big problem. So I'm going to go with Minnesota in the upset to win the division.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with Green Bay. I like them.
Wow.
They're firmly, you're going to hear a lot about their window of opportunity, which I think the window's starting to crack, starting to move towards closed for that team with the guys that are built around, Aaron Rodgers and whatnot, and how good that defense can be. I think Green Bay is going to take the division. But I think it's going to be right there with Minnesota. I don't give the other two much of a chance to make much noise and develop in the division, much less get very much over 5 or 6
Yeah, but
wins.
my one question there is, Randy, Detroit last year, if Stafford doesn't hurt, his throwing hand, I think they would have won the division last year. And I think they are a little bit better on the offensive line than what they were last year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But, it's like Cleveland. Eventually,
Detroit's not that bad, Randy. They made the playoffs 3 times
but
last year.
Eventually, these teams sort of realize who they are.
Yeah.
And they have those little runs, and it sometimes is just enough to make them irrelevant. How many times have we seen teams like this that you can look at and you can say, right now, in your early December, boy, over the last 3 weeks, there's not a better team in the NFL. And you'll look at somebody and you say, yeah, it's right, but they're 6 and 7 right now. How can that go together? So I like Detroit. I think Stafford deserves every penny because his timing was perfect on his contract.
Yeah,
but I just don't. I don't like their chances. Just because I don't think they match up. They definitely aren't going to sweep either the Vikings or the Packers to me, and that's what they'd have to do. Maybe sweep both of them to win that division.
Yeah, I agree. They're third place in a division, but I do think Matt Stafford being there does give you some reason to think there is some hope there.
Yeah, the puncher's chance, as they say.
Yeah, he's a puncher's chance. Not a Conor McGregor chance either, an actual boxer.
Not a puncher, a boxer. Boxer's chance. Right. Okay. Last, maybe least, the NFC West. So a lot of folks are thinking this is going to be a great division this year, but I beg to differ.
You're kidding, right? Who are the people you're talking to, Oz?
Yeah, I know. But look, I'm a Rams guy. I'll admit it. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Los Angeles Rams.
You just like those new White Horn helmets.
No, well, yeah, but I want the blue and the yellow. That's
White Horn's not new. That's back in the '67.
Yeah, see, that's those
are the old Rams.
Yeah, that's the Roland Olsen gear. Yeah.
Yeah, Fearsome Foursome, Roman Gabriel.
Yeah, but I want the Eric Dickerson green, blue and yellow. That's the one I like. But in any case, I would just like the
Anaheim Ram days.
They could wear bilious green and pink if they had a winning record, as far as I'm concerned. I don't really care about that.
What the hell is bilious green?
When you puke but you have nothing left in your stomach.
Well, hell, I'm glad I asked that question. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's why I said it like that.
So much
sounds better than puke green. I don't care. I just want a winner, but I'm not going to get it this year. I think the Seahawks look really good, but as Mike has pointed out, it's really truth. I think on some of these shows, offensive line has a lot of injury problems. I still like Seattle to go very far, and I figured I would give Randy the option to explain what's happening in San Francisco 49er land. Can you?
You know what? It's hard to defend what's gone on there in the past, but I think it's a brand new equation there with John Lynch. I think what he's done by who he's signed and who he's drafted and the looks of that team, I believe they're dramatically different. They're nowhere near drafting second next year. I put them in the low teens. But, and that's not a left-handed compliment. That's just kind of a fact. You're not going to get that much better. They need more talent. They need better players. And it'll eventually address the quarterback position. I think Shanahan, having Hoyer, if they can keep Hoyer healthy and upright, will give them that chance to, win those probably 6 or 7 games that they'll need to win to get in that kind of spot when it comes to that draft pick. But I think it's nothing but positive, huge positive stuff for San Francisco in the future. They're heading in the right direction to me. And
also, Randy, this is
whatever winning the
draft.
rest of that.
This is the perfect. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
I was just going to say, whatever winning the rest of that division does, as far as potentially, they better get off the dime and do it now, because in another couple of years, that's not going to be a close division. The Niners will own it again.
You may be right. You may be right on that. Okay, Mike, go for it. Get in on this.
I don't know. What do you want me to talk about, the Niners or the division or what?
Yeah. I want to.
Because I'll tell you this, the Niners are in a perfect position because I think there's so many good quarterbacks that are going to come out in this draft. They've even been in the low teens. They might be able to get their guy.
Because Seattle's got a good team. Seattle made that classic mistake where they had all that great defensive talent, they had the skill talent, and they made a choice. They ignored their offensive line, let their guys go in free agency. And, that group that took care of Russell Wilson, that blocked for Marshawn Lynch, that was the engine of that offense. That was the engine of that team. And when they let those guys go, they have not been anywhere close to the same kind of team, to me, just in my opinion, since then. Now, they're going to be back, and they're going to be pretty good, and so will the Cardinals. But I don't know. Personally, I'd be curious what you think, Mike, but I don't think anybody in that division is, much over 10 or 11 wins.
I think Seattle could be, just because you may get 6 wins right in that division. You've got 3 premier pass rushers, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Frank Clark. My question with them is they don't really get a push up the middle, but they rush the passer well. They brought in a lot of guys to help the defense again as normal and ignored the offensive line. I don't think you're going to have a run game yet. I think that as good as their defense is, I think that wins them the division. I think they're 10 to 12 wins in between there. I don't think you're looking at a Super Bowl team. I think Russell Wilson's an elite quarterback. I think he's proved that the last 2 years by doing what he's done with no offensive line in front of him. He's taken a beating. He's played through it. If they could put together an offensive line over the next couple of years, I would think it would be hard for the Niners to ever dominate just because Russell Wilson's the quarterback in Seattle, Randy. Because I think Russell Wilson is the kind of guy that's so good that, especially a couple of years from now, you put him on the field, and he's probably like an Aaron Rodgers. No matter what you got around him, he's going to win 9 or 10 games almost automatically.
Yeah. I'm with you on Seattle, and I'm with you on Russell. I'm a big fan of his. He's lucky he's got good feet because he's going to need him with that group in front of him.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of Pete Carroll. I mean, I never thought I would say that. I'm about to slap myself in the mouth.
Especially not out loud.
But he's done a great job there. And, he's done a hell of a job. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to a couple Super Bowls. The question is going to be, when are they going to upgrade the offensive line? Because they spent most of this draft upgrading the defense. And, when you've got a quarterback like Russell Wilson, you got to protect him.
Right. Okay. So consensus on Seattle taking that division, I'm sure. Right. Okay. Well, we got a pretty good picture of the opinions and whatnot. Let's get out of here. But before we do, let's do the final big prediction. Super Bowl pick, Mike.
Well, it's obvious that the Bengals are going to beat the 49ers this year in the Super Bowl.
That's the Super Bowl this year? That's what you're saying?
You know the bad thing, Randy, is in 1988 when the Bears were playing the Niners, I went to the Bengals-Bills AFC Championship game, and everybody in Cincinnati was hoping the Niners would beat the Bears just because we wanted revenge. Wasn't that the dumbest damn thing a fan could ever hope for? We could have played against Mike Tomczak in the Super Bowl with Neil Anderson, and instead we get Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Tom Rasmussen. So...
yeah.
Okay. And it was still, I think, the most impressive one I saw from the Niners those 10 years just because of the fact that everybody said, well, it's bear weather today. And then you guys went out and basically physically manhandled them. So. But
Great kickoff return by Jennings, though.
Yeah, there you go, Stanford Jennings. Mm-hmm. All I got Stanford Jennings and Jim Breach is all I got from that game.
That's right.
But Lewis Phillips dropped that damn interception.
I love the Raiders' chances this year, and I'm going to go with either Raiders Dallas or Raiders Green Bay.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to go with I don't know. Let's be a little weird. I'm going to go Patriots and Buccaneers.
Ooh,
there you go.
These are interesting. Well, Randy,
and I wish the Buccaneers would wear the old helmets, the creamsicle helmets.
Oh, with the gay pirate?
The gay pirate, yeah. You can't say that anymore. Now we're going to get in trouble.
I think he just did.
Sorry.
I know.
Flip that out. I don't mean the gay pirate. I mean Captain Jack. It's Captain Jack Sparrow of the Walt Disney movies. It's not, nothing about his orientation. In any case, thank you, Randy, for picking the Raiders, because I'm going to go with the Raiders, too. I hemmed and hawed about this
You're
quite
doomed,
a bit.
Randy.
Yeah, exactly. Raiders 4-12. And on the other side, wow, I really pitched around a few times in my head, but I'm going to go Raiders-Vikings. I'm going to take the Raiders and the Vikings in the Super Bowl, and I'm sure I would get very good odds at mybookie.ag.
The Raiders and the Vikings?
Sure. You get great odds.
Yeah,
you can get awesome odds for that.
I'm sure I'll get great odds at mybookie.ag.
It's a rematch of Super Bowl 11.
11, yeah. The first Super Bowl I can remember. Right. Okay, so we'll be coming with the NFL Pick'em show starting next week,
Wednesday
so a few
night.
days from now.
Yeah, Wednesday night. Mark Cooper from the Denver Broncos will be on. Randy, you're welcome to join whenever you want to come on.
Oh, we're good. Thank you. I apprate it.
You notice he didn't say yes, Oz, because you've been saying some stupid stuff on the show tonight.
That'll be a Wednesday for me.
What was that, Randy? You there, Oz?
Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, so in any case, let's sign off before we all drift away anyway. For the Grueling Truths NFL preview show, this is Oz Davis.
Hey, bring up Unsafe Spaces again.
And for my co-hosts, Mike Goodpaster and Randy Frost, who you can check out.
Oz?
Yes.
You're just ignoring me, aren't you, Oz?
Who you can check out on Unsafe Spaces podcast. Randy, where can that podcast be found?
You can get it on iTunes, go to unsafespacesusa.com, or Twitter or Facebook. It's all over. SoundCloud.
Okay. All right, great. So Unsafe Spaces on Twitter is the Twitter handle as well?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, check that out. Even though that's not on the Grueling Truth .net, we still give you permission to check that out. Enjoy that show. Enjoy all our shows at the GruelingTruth.net. Check out mybookie.ag. Use the promo code. Help us out. For all my co-hosts, this is Oz Davis. We are out. Thanks.